The desert was a place of endless silence, broken only by the sigh of the wind and the occasional cry of a distant hawk. For weeks, Khalid, a young merchant's son, had been traveling along the ancient trade routes with his camel. His provisions were low, his water nearly gone, and his body weakened by days of relentless heat. As the orange sun sank toward the horizon, he prayed silently for a place to rest. It was then that he saw it, the ruins of an old caravanserai, standing lonely on a dune, its walls cracked and half buried in sand. Long ago, it must have been a bustling stop for merchants, a place where weary travelers shared stories and food by the fire. Now it seemed nothing more than a hollow shell, swallowed by time. Khalid hesitated, for he remembered the tales told by desert nomads. They said the caravanserai was cursed, home to a Jinn bound to its stones by forgotten sorcery. Merchants who had dared to stay there disappeared, leaving only their camels and belongings behind. Some swore they heard voices when passing nearby, whispers carried on the wind, calling their names. But Khalid, exhausted and desperate, convinced himself that these were only stories meant to frighten children. He tethered his camel to a fallen pillar, gathered dried wood, and lit a small fire in the courtyard. As the flames flickered, the ruin came alive with shadows. Khalid wrapped his cloak around himself, intending to sleep, but then he heard it, a faint whisper, like the rustling of dry leaves. At first, he thought it was the wind slipping through the cracks of the walls. But then the whisper grew clearer. His heart froze when he realized it was speaking words. "Why, have you entered my dwelling, mortal?" Khalid's eyes darted to the fire. The flames had grown taller, stretching unnaturally upward, dancing with a life of their own. From within the fire emerged a figure, towering, shrouded in smoke, with eyes that glowed like molten embers. Its form shifted between man and shadow, solid and formless all at once. Khalid staggered backward, his breath caught in his throat. The creature loomed over him, its voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "I am the guardian of this place," the Jinn said. "For centuries I have been bound here, cursed to watch the treasures of kings long turned to dust. Few dare enter, and fewer still survive." Khalid trembled but forced himself to speak. "I meant no harm, Great One. I sought only shelter for the night. If I have offended, forgive me." The Jinn's eyes narrowed, flickering like fire in a storm. For a long moment, silence hung heavy. Then the Jinn's voice softened, though it carried a weight of sadness. "You are brave or foolish. Most who see me run before a word is spoken. But you stand. That deserves choice." The shadows shifted, and in the corners of the ruin, Khalid noticed heaps of gold, jewels, and weapons encrusted with gems, treasures left behind by those who had come before. The sight made his breath quicken. He thought of his empty purse, his hungry belly, and his poor family who struggled to survive. The Jinn extended a hand of smoke, pointing toward the riches. "Take from this treasure and leave. But know this, greed will bind you here forever, and your soul will become as restless as mine." Or, the Jinn paused, its fiery gaze piercing into Khalid's heart. "Walk away with nothing but your life. Carry my story into the world, so that though I am bound, I am not forgotten." Khalid's mouth grew dry. The temptation was almost unbearable. The gold sparkled in the firelight like stars, promising freedom from poverty, power beyond his dreams. Yet the weight of the Jinn's words hung heavier than the treasure. He imagined himself trapped for eternity, another restless spirit whispering in the ruin, forever chained by his greed. Slowly, with trembling hands, Khalid lowered his gaze. "I will not touch the treasure. I will leave with nothing, except your story. That I promise." For the first time, the Jinn's burning eyes softened. A low sound echoed through the ruin, something between a sigh and laughter. It was the sound of a spirit long denied company, tasting relief for the first time in centuries. The fire dimmed, shrinking back to its natural size, and the shadows loosened their grip on the walls. "You are wise, mortal," the Jinn said, its form dissolving into smoke. "Few resist greed. Because you have chosen the harder path, I shall let you go in peace. Remember me, and carry my name, so that I am not erased from the world." When dawn broke, Khalid untied his camel and looked back at the caravanserai one last time. It stood silent, bathed in the pale morning light. No treasure glinted, no shadow stirred. Yet Khalid knew the Jinn still lingered, waiting, bound to its curse. He kept his promise. Wherever he traveled, in bazaars, in camps, in the homes of strangers, he told the tale of the Jinn who haunted the desert ruins. Some scoffed, others shivered, but all remembered. And in this way, the Jinn was never forgotten. Its story carried across deserts and generations. Khalid, though poor in gold, became rich in wisdom. For he had learned a truth the desert whispers to all who listen: sometimes survival is not about what you take, but about what you leave behind. Many years passed since Khalid first encountered the Jinn in the abandoned caravanserai. He grew old, with silver in his beard and wisdom in his eyes. Though he never became rich in coin, his words and stories made him respected across the desert tribes. Fathers told their children the tale of the Jinn, and children told it to their children, until it became a legend woven into the sands themselves. But time is a cunning thief. As generations rose and fell, the tale of the Jinn began to change. Some said Khalid had been a fool, walking away from a fortune. Others claimed he had lied, inventing the story to hide his failure as a merchant. By the time his great-grandson, Yusuf, was born, the story had become more rumor than warning. Yusuf was young, ambitious, and restless. Unlike Khalid, who had learned humility through hardship, Yusuf dreamed of wealth and glory. He listened to the old tales but scoffed at them. Jinn? Curses? These are tales for children, he would say with a laugh. If my ancestor truly found treasure and left it behind, then he was a fool. I will return to that ruin and claim what he was too weak to take. And so, one hot summer, Yusuf set out with 3 companions, men just as hungry for gold as he was. They carried supplies, weapons, and determination. For days they crossed the desert, following the directions pieced together from old maps and the words of storytellers. Finally, as the sun dipped low, they saw it, the caravanserai, its walls more crumbled than before, its stones half swallowed by dunes. The men entered, their footsteps echoing in the hollow halls. The air inside was heavy, thick with silence. Yusuf's companions whispered nervously, recalling the old warnings, but Yusuf only smirked. See? Nothing but dust. My ancestors' ghost stories kept him poor. Tonight, we shall be rich. As night fell, they lit a fire in the courtyard. Its glow revealed faded carvings on the walls, patterns of kings and camels, forgotten by time. But as the fire burned higher, the shadows deepened unnaturally, just as they had in Khalid's time. The men laughed at first, until one of them gasped. The flames twisted, stretching taller than the men themselves. Smoke swirled upward, and from the fire emerged the same towering figure, its eyes glowing like molten gold, its form shifting like a storm of shadows. The Jinn had awoken. The companions fell to the ground in terror, but Yusuf stood, though his legs trembled. You are real," he whispered, awe and fear mixing in his voice. The Jinn's gaze bore into him. "You carry the blood of the one who once stood before me. Khalid, the mortal who refused greed. He walked away, leaving me with my curse. And yet you return, seeking what he denied." Yusuf swallowed hard, but his pride pushed him forward. "If my ancestor left you in chains, then I will succeed where he failed. I have come for the treasure." The Jinn's laughter shook the crumbling stones. "Treasure," it said bitterly. "The gold and jewels you see are but bait. They are illusions, traps for greedy hearts. All who reach for them become bound, their souls feeding my prison. Look around you, mortal." The shadows shifted, and Yusuf saw them, faint figures lingering in the corners of the ruin. Men, women, even children, their forms pale and flickering like candle smoke. Their eyes were hollow, their mouths moving in silent screams. They were the lost souls of those who had once tried to claim the Jinn's treasure. Yusuf staggered back, horror dawning on his face. His companions fled toward the gate, but the shadows swallowed them whole, their cries echoing before fading into silence. "You are different," the Jinn said, lowering its voice. "You carry Khalid's blood. His choice freed me for a moment, lifted the weight of my curse. But your greed brings it back heavier than before. Now I ask you, will you walk away as he did, or will you claim what you desire and join the others?" Yusuf's heart pounded. Sweat poured down his brow. He thought of the gold, bright, dazzling, promising power and comfort. But he also saw the hollow faces of the trapped souls, their eternal suffering. He closed his eyes, hearing his great-grandfather's story echo in his mind. Slowly, he dropped to his knees. "Forgive me. I was blind. I will not take what is not mine." For a long moment, the Jinn stared at him. Then, for the first time in centuries, its form wavered and grew faint. The flames lowered, becoming small and ordinary. "You have learned," the Jinn whispered, its voice no longer heavy but almost peaceful. "Blood remembers. The choice has been made again. Go, and let my name live. Perhaps one day, this curse will end." And with that, the Jinn dissolved into smoke, leaving only silence and the dying fire. Yusuf stumbled out of the caravanserai at dawn, his body trembling, his mind forever changed. He returned home empty-handed, but he told the story to his children and grandchildren, just as Khalid had once done. The tale grew stronger, a reminder not of treasure, but of wisdom, and still, in the desert, the caravanserai stands. The wind howls through its hollow halls, carrying whispers that few dare to hear. For the Jinn waits, cursed, patient, and eternal.